So the first thing I do every morning after I wake up, and it's right after I wake up, is I come out onto the computer, check in on my messages, social media stuff, answer questions in the chat room, and catch up on all the threads that I may have missed. From there, I go to the cryptocurrency sector and I check in on everything there. I do a little write-up on Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins that are standing out. From there, I go to the whiteboard, which is something that every day it's a routine that makes sure that I'm looking at every aspect of the market. So I do a little paragraph on the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the major names like Amazon, Tesla, Apple, Google, all the way down the line to the biotech sector, the financial sector. And so it's almost like a checklist where I'm forced to look at every single chart of these things and write up what's standing out to me on the daily time frame, the hourly time frame, things I'm looking for today. And this all takes about an hour and a half. So I do that from about 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. And that's my initial exposure to the market for the morning. And after I get finished with that, I publish it and have it for the Chart Guys members to look at. And then I get off the computer for the next hour and 20 minutes to give myself a little bit of a mental reset. And I'll do things like I'll take a shower, I'll go outside with my dog Sweetie Pants and feed the birds. Sometimes I had a routine where I would go drive to get a coffee just to ensure that I would, again, get out of the house. When you work from home, sometimes you've got to force yourself to get out of your house. And listening to music and being on the road was another little mental reset. When I'm in the shower, I'm envisioning what I'm going to be doing for the day. If the broader market does this, I'm going to be looking at these names. If it does this and goes in the other direction, I'm going to be looking at this kind of trade. And it's essentially diving into the market head first thing, pulling myself back out of it and giving myself some mental reset before getting back into the live stream at 9 a.m. into the market open and into the trading day. The turkeys eat all the corn. You can see all the corn cobs over the year. So there's a lot of birds. When I moved in, there weren't many birds around, but once I started putting food out, obviously they started coming around. So I obviously enjoy being able to watch them out of my windows and all the cardinals. And this time of year, you can hear a woodpecker. The robins all just came back into the yard. This is one of the first flowers in the yard. I don't know what it is, but it's one of the first scents of flowers. But I just put bird seed all around the yard, and birds bring, birds help bug control. Birds bring hawks. It's just a little ecosystem. And I spread them out because the blue jays can get aggressive, the crows can get aggressive, the turkeys can get aggressive, so everybody eats in the yard. Pretty soon the ducks and the geese will be back. I give them a little bit of corn too. There they are. This is the second morning that they've been back since last year. Pretty sure this female was a baby 2 years ago. Rav behind the camera here saw his first cardinal the other day, which was exciting. So I put some food on every single post so all the little guys have some space. You can see the garlic is starting to come in. Planted that last fall. She gets green beans because she got a little fat. I was hooking her up with local meat and bone broth, and now she's on the green bean diet. She's the green bean queen. Little bit of meat, some local meat to spice it up. Gotta keep life exciting, As far as my breakfast is concerned, I do intermittent fasting, not really intentionally, just because I don't really eat breakfast that much. If I were gonna be doing physical activity, like if I were gonna be outside working in the garden for the next few hours, I would force myself to eat something to have that energy. But if I'm working on the computer, definitely using energy, mentally, but I'll eat a big meal at night, 5, 6, 7 p.m., and then I won't eat until, midday the next day sometimes. Sometimes I'll have a little bar if I'm hungry, a little breakfast bar kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm just hydrating through the morning and into midday, and I don't really feel a hunger. It's really, I have to just keep an eye on how much energy I'm using. But for the most part, limited food consumption in the morning and in the afternoon. And everybody's different. I have friends and partners in the past where if they don't eat food, they get a headache or, it negatively impacts their day. So just something that I've recognized with myself. And this goes back to when I was a kid as well, just didn't really eat breakfast a whole lot. And that's just what feels right for my body in terms of, listening to it and staying in tune with it. This is my mushroom room for obvious reasons. If you take a look over here. So when I bought the house, this was bright red, and it was a dining room with your standard chandelier, dining room table, very ugly red. And I don't need a dining room. I don't really eat dinner with a family. So met a guy just online. I posted, does anybody know anybody that, does murals? And someone said, hey, check out this guy. So he was traveling around. He came and lived in my driveway in his car, in his van, and he just painted this over the span of a couple months. And now it's the spot I go to for winding down. Sometimes I get a massage in here, hang out with some friends, and just a really cool spot. Next one is the space room. So this is from a buddy who has never painted space before, but he came in here and went to work and painted some galaxies, and this is a guest room of the house, but we'll hang out in here sometimes, wind down, put some music on, shut the lights off. I've got a projector that puts stars on the wall and all these lights that sync up with music if I'm playing music. And just making the walls cool. That was the one aspect of buying a house that I didn't anticipate. It's like, I can do anything I want on the walls. So over the years, one of the things that have changed about my morning routine is going to get a coffee. I could easily make it at home, but I like to get out of the house, and I like the music and the road, and it allows for a little bit of self-reflection and contemplation about the trading day, a setup that I'm going to be looking for, or if the broader market does this, I'm going to look for this kind of trade. And it just allows me to get off of the computer for a bit, have a little bit of a mental reset, and then prepare for essentially visualizing what I want the day to look like. So this is my nitro coffee. I usually bring my own glass because I'm saving the world, so don't judge me for my single-use plastic. But it is something that I used to do every single day, a really ingrained part of my routine. But over time, I've been drinking coffee since high school, so over 15 years, my body started to react to it, where if I do it every day, I'll get an itchy scalp and I'll have these little symptoms. And so now I just have very small amounts, and I go many periods without it. I do substitutes, dandelion blend or mushroom blends, or just straight up water. But just something that's evolved and changed as a part of my routine over the years. So now, after doing the whiteboard, getting away from the computer for an hour and a half, taking a shower, feeding the birds and all that, I sit back down on the computer at about 8:45, 8:40, and get ready to live stream. I live stream Monday through Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern into 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And so for that, I'm setting up my live stream and making sure my links are all good to go. And then from there, get ready for a half-hour pre-market prep. And then the bell actually rings and make observations about the setups that we're watching, the major sectors, the major stocks in the first 20 minutes of the day to see how the day is shaping up. Do we have a bull trending day, a bear trending day, a lack of clarity? And from there, I will place the majority of my trades. Sometimes I'll trade in the first 30, 45 minutes of the morning, but I find that my win rate is much better in the period of time from about 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. once there's already some morning ranges established and I have levels to play off of, as opposed to the extreme volatility in the first 20 minutes of the day. You can still have previous levels to be playing off of, but I have a lot more clarity a bit later in the morning if I wait for the setups to present themselves. Good morning, Chart Guys members. It is Monday, February 27th, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're keeping an eye on the S&P 500 high of yesterday resistance. We know that the bulls are going to have to break that. So here's my trade setup. Again, very simple. Got my, this is newer, bigger monitor with a desktop. This is a little travel $99 monitor. This is a 5-year-old $99 monitor. Serves all the purposes that I have and just gives me Slack and the Chart Guys chat room on one screen, social media, email, trading view on the main screen, and then we've got Fidelity and where I'm actually placing my orders on the left screen here. And one thing that's very important to me with trading so many hours in the screen is being able to constantly be looking outside. I see traders that have a wall right in front of their screen, and I just know that I personally could never do that, because one thing that concerns me is my eyesight. I don't want to go blind when I'm 50, so I'm constantly looking at birds and plants and animals and all that stuff to change the depth of my vision, because if you're just only looking 3 feet in front of your face for 12 hours in a row, weeks and years in a row, that's going to have a significant long-term negative impact. So midday at about noon, it's very important for me to get off the computer and take a break, ensure that I'm hydrated, get a big glass of water. And again, same thing as the morning. I have to get off the screen and reset my brain, and it allows for me to reflect on the morning. Am I trading well? Am I trading poorly? Maybe I'm done for the day. Maybe I had my day loser and I'm cutting myself off. Maybe I am patiently waiting for an hourly lower high to form after a morning bounce. And so I'm outside, doing stuff in the yard. It's much easier to do in the spring when I do have, I can go weed a bed for 20 minutes, and that allows for me to, again, just self-reflect. It's almost like a midday journaling break where I am keeping myself in check rather than, sitting at the computer the entire day and then I stand up and say, oh, I made all these mistakes. I wasn't realizing it. I didn't catch myself. So this midday break is very important for me. When I was first starting out with the Chart Guys, I would nap for 20 minutes every lunch break. And I'm a very good sleeper, so I can lay down and be asleep within 5 minutes. And that allowed for the second half of the day to have significant productivity. And that was when I was making more YouTube videos in the afternoon and I needed, my energy throughout the second half of the day. These days, I don't do that nearly as much. I've lost my nap routine. Some days I try and get it back, but everybody's different. I would suggest, though, if you are a napper, a midday nap, if you can just do it for 20 minutes, it absolutely, when I was in the best trading flow state of my life, naps were an integral part of that. So my yard is one of my favorite places to be in the world, and when I bought this property, it was literally, I saw the yard and knew I was going to buy it without even looking at the house. And so you'll see, I make a lot of content out in the yard where I'm walking around, and it's essentially, if I'm not on the computer doing charts, I'm in the yard. And it's an integral part of balance. We know balance is so important as traders. One of my edges as a trader is the amount of time that I put in. Over the last 8 trading years, there are not many more people in the world that have put in more time than me, because again, I've done it without having children, without having a wife, and anybody that has children or a wife can't put in the amount of time that I do. And so, there's definitely people that do out there, but not many. So knowing that, I have to keep myself in check, because if I'm not actively going outside consistently, then again, it's very easy for me to sit at the computer for 10 hours in a row. And that, again, obviously is not healthy in the long term. So it's forcing that balance. Maybe I want to wait for this trade, but again, that next trade is always going to happen. There are countless opportunities every year, every day in the market. And so we can't have that FOMO of I'm going to miss this trade, because there are endless opportunities. And I know a lot of newer traders have problems with FOMO and not wanting to miss the trade, but it's experience. Once you do it for a certain amount of time and you see the same patterns and the same plays take place thousands of times. It's just this calming, like, there's another trade. I can get that same trade tomorrow. Or, you know, sometimes we have market environments that are rare. That's when, you know, I will skew that balance. So crypto 2017, I knew that it was an opportunity that wasn't going to be a common one. And so I did just all in 8 months in a row. If I kept up that amount of time that I was putting into the computer screen, I would be an extremely unhealthy person. But I knew I can do this for a significant period of time, but not too long. And honestly, towards the end of it, I was hoping that Bitcoin would find a top because this was not sustainable. I need a break. And once we finally did top, it was kind of like, all right, take a big step back, re-find that balance. So it's okay to go out of balance for short periods of time, but only if the market environment is, you know, a once in a decade opportunity, a once in a multiple year opportunity. Otherwise, we have to ensure that we're staying balanced, because if it's just a normal market day, those are a dime a dozen. We're gonna get those all the time. All right, the bell has rung, done for the day. So now I make the end of the day broader market video that I put on YouTube, and that helps me check in on the daily candles and how they closed. So I'm essentially keeping the continuity of the day in my brain, and it'll be easier to jump back into things tomorrow morning and pick up from here. After that, I get off the computer. Sometimes I'll go to the gym in the evening. Other times I'll just get some food and start to wind down, perhaps some hot tub, things like that, to, again, completely remove myself from the screen. Once I'm done, pick back up tomorrow morning, do it all over again.